Hi guys, today's video is a Christmas Q&A. I thought I would just answer a few of your guys' questions and give you some advice based on like what I've learnt during recovery and what I think about Christmas time, just because it can be a really difficult time if you're suffering with an eating disorder. Because I mean, not only are there, really daunting foods that you're not gonna feel comfortable enough eating, but also it can be really upsetting and almost like distressing when you can't enjoy yourself to the fullest because of your eating disorder. That was definitely the most upsetting part for me. It wasn't that I was worried, that I'd have to consume so many calories. It was just the fact that, I was missing out on all the fun. So the first question is, what do you eat on Christmas and what did you eat when you first started to recover? This is actually my first Christmas in recovery. Last year it was like a few weeks before I got to my lowest and before I was almost in hospital, so it was last year's Christmas fell at like the peak of my eating disorder. But I think it's weird when people ask me what I eat, or like, kind of if I can give them advice and a plan, just because for me my eating disorder is, my recovery from my eating disorder is about eating what I want. Like, I'm not recovering to, have a normal healthy diet. I'm recovering to be able to literally eat what I want and be completely free of it. So what I ate when I first started to recover, I mean, I guess that would be this Christmas, but I'm literally just going to eat what the hell I want. But I know that's probably not too helpful for the people, who kind of want some advice. But what I did do last year when I was struggling, but I didn't want it to kind of like, affect, it was kind of 50-50 last year. Like, it kind of stopped me from eating what I wanted, but at the same time I was kind of still Emily and I still wanted to enjoy my food. So while I did have a big Christmas dinner, I wasn't like, helping myself to loads like I will be this year. But yeah, my advice would be to just try and enjoy it. Try and eat as much as you can comfortably. And by trying to eat as much as you can comfortably, you're kind of, that's kind of like a recovery win for you. You can really like pat yourself on the back for that. But also, do not push yourself, because if you push yourself too far, you might end up like, restricting the next day or purging, and that's when the eating disorder kicks in. I think what I learned is that don't push yourself, no matter, like, this isn't just for Christmas, this is just in recovery in general. Do not push yourself to the point where you're trying to completely ignore your eating disorder, because then it will creep back in and then you are going to restrict. But do eat enough so that you do feel like you've pushed yourself a little bit, just so that you can be proud of yourself. Like, if you feel like eating nothing and you have one thing, like, that's still a recovery win. Because I feel like some people might think that recovery is trying to eat, like as much as you want, but you have got to do it slowly. Like, you've kind of got to be clever about it. You have got to listen to your eating disorder. If your eating disorder is telling you don't eat anything, eat a little bit. Always do a little bit more than what your eating disorder wants you to do, so that you are recovering and you are taking over. You're taking the control back from your eating disorder, but you're not overwhelming yourself so that the eating disorder gets too scared and then jumps back in. So yeah, I think that would be my advice, and that was what I did last year. But obviously this year I'm gonna have all the roast potatoes and all the Yorkshire puddings and a whole frickin' turkey. I eat balanced. I've said this a lot of times, but I do eat balanced. Like, I don't shove my face with chocolate every single day. If I did, then yes, I would feel guilty. And I think that's, half of that is just, that's just normal. Anyone would feel a bit like bad for it, but I would actually feel anxious and guilty, and that is my eating disorder kind of like creeping in. But that is, I recognise that now, so I don't push myself. Okay, the next question is, how do you feel about Christmas food during recovery? I'm way too afraid. Christmas was my favourite time of the year pre-eating disorder. Love you so much. Oh, thank you. Oh, you said you were my recovery partner. I really enjoy that. Oh, thank you. That honestly means so much when people message me saying I like inspire them. I'm like, thank you. Yeah, no, that's honestly amazing. Thank you. But how do I feel about Christmas food during recovery? I guess I kind of answered that in the last one, but yeah, it can be very daunting, just because I feel like Christmas dinners aren't even necessarily unhealthy. I think it's just because it's a special occasion. Everyone has like loads of food, because it's not every day that you get a Christmas dinner. It's only once a year, so people do make the most of it and they eat a lot, and I think that can seem very daunting, especially if you're recovering from an eating disorder and you're not eating a lot. You're kind of just like taking it easy, I feel like a lot of people could be like, oh, it's Christmas, why aren't you eating loads? And that too can be really scary. So I do think it can be very daunting, but then I think it's seen as more scary than it actually is, if that makes sense. Like, if you really think about it, it's not that scary. It's kind of just like a roast dinner if you're from England. So yeah, I do definitely think that it can be scary, but I think that's just the way you look at it. Like, if you really think about it, it's not that scary. Like, you don't have to eat loads. So yeah, I'm way too afraid Christmas was my favourite time of the year pre-ED. That's really, really tough, because it's times like this at Christmas that you realise how your eating disorder has affected you. But I think you should use that motivation as, you know, a reason to want to recover. Like, if you take it easy, like I've just explained in the last one, if you kind of put that with your everyday eating, you know, the listening to the eating disorder, doing a little bit more than it says, then maybe this time next year, you know, Christmas won't be so scary, because an eating disorder is just in your mind and you can like overcome it. The only thing telling you that you can't is your eating disorder, and hopefully by having a good Christmas this year, you'll realise, you know, that it's not so scary eating a little bit more than, you know, your eating disorder wants to eat. Because I mean, I was like really, really scared last year. And although me personally, because I love food so much, like, you know, I've always been a really big eater, I didn't want that to ruin my Christmas, so I did eat, you know, a fair amount. Obviously I still had the anxiety, but for some weird reason I was kind of able to put it to the back of my mind, and then obviously it came out in January. I don't know, I think what I'm trying to say is, you know, if I can do it, then you can do it. So yeah, just take it step by step, and hopefully this time next year things will be a lot better. Next question is, what are your favourite Christmas traditions that you and your family always do? My whole Christmas is literally based on traditions. Like, I'm a very, I like to stick to, what's it called? Tradition, like, oh, what's the word? I can't think of it. Routine. Oh, yeah, routine. I think it's because I have anxiety as well. I don't like change, so I really like to stick to, tradition. So my whole Christmas is literally, it looks exactly the same every year, but that's how I like it. So in the morning, I mean, my two brothers actually live with my mum now, and it's just me and my sister at my dad's, but it's still kind of the same thing anyway. But I'm literally getting so excited just talking about it, like this is going to happen in a few weeks. Oh. So we'll wake up, we'll have stockings at the end of our beds, which we'll open, and then yeah, we'll go down at about 8, which I personally think is about 4 hours too late. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, we go down at about 8, 9, and then we'll open presents from my dad, and then about lunchtime we will go to my nan's with my mum. So it'll be my grandparents, my mum, and my two brothers, my sister and me, and then we'll open all the presents from my nan and granddad and from my mum. We get so spoiled each year, like, especially considering the fact that there's 4 of us, like, we each get spoiled so much. And then yeah, we'll have a nice Christmas dinner. It's more of like a Christmas lunch, I guess. We have it about 2. And then the next day, used to be every Boxing Day we would go to my dad's parents, but this year, last year and the year before, because I've been working and it's double pay on Boxing Day, I work on Boxing Day and then we do this on the 27th instead. So what we'll do is we'll go to my dad's parents, we'll have presents from them, like we basically have a second Christmas, and then we'll go shopping. We'll go shopping in Swindon, which is in Wiltshire, and yeah, so basically we get 2 Christmases. When do you start celebrating Christmas, and do you have any tips for enjoying Christmas and not feeling stressed about the food? Like I said, I guess the first and second questions kind of answered like all my, like, you know, the biggest tip I have for Christmas, and that is literally just, you know, eat what you want to an extent but don't push yourself. And then you can kind of, you know, have a good day and kind of realise that your eating disorder isn't as scary as you think. But I don't know, I feel like I'm just repeating myself in this video, but I feel like, you know, I just have one big piece of advice that kind of falls under like every single category. And also kind of just, you know, take a deep breath. Maybe if you do get anxiety like I did with my eating disorder when it was really bad and you'd have like really scary thoughts, try and listen to like, you know, a calm app or do a bit of meditating and just enjoy the day. Just kind of look around you and appreciate everything. Don't let your eating disorder ruin your Christmas day, because, you know, it doesn't have a right to do that. Like, it is just a mental illness. Like, you know, there's no just about it. Obviously, you know, it's a horrible thing. It can't hurt you and it can't ruin your day unless you let it. And you know, a mental illness is still very much an illness, but try not to let it ruin your day. If your eating disorder thoughts are allowed, just know that they will pass. They can't hurt you. My eating disorder is telling me I must keep a flat stomach over Christmas and the perfect figure, or I just have to exercise a lot to allow treats, etc. Yeah, no, I do understand that. That is definitely an eating disorder speaking. That's exactly the kind of thing that my eating disorder would tell me. I can tell you as someone who, you know, is recovering and has recovered to a certain extent, that that is like false. Your eating disorder is literally lying to you by telling you that. No one was put on this planet to like have a flat stomach. Like, we're not put on this planet to all look the same. The priority should be being healthy, and if that means that we're curvy naturally, that we're really skinny naturally, that we're really fat naturally, then that doesn't matter. That's not a big deal. I think people need to realise that an eating disorder is never gonna be okay with you being healthy. You need to like be sickly skinny to satisfy your eating disorder, and even then you're not going to be satisfied. So don't listen to your eating disorder. An eating disorder, especially anorexia, they're really manipulative. Yeah, no one's put on this planet, you know, to have a flat stomach. No one is supposed to look a certain way. You're only supposed to look, I think the smallest you should look is when you're at your healthy weight. Like, there is nothing wrong with fat. I think the only reason why fat is seen as a bad thing is because if you have too much of it, it's unhealthy. But the exact same thing goes for being skinny. Being too fat isn't any more dangerous than being too skinny. So honestly, I think it's just the media. It's, you know, all this social media. Because this time, like 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't even like that. People, you know, didn't think skinny was beautiful. But, you know, and then you see all these pictures of Marilyn Monroe, and she was like, you know, the most beautiful model in the world, and she wasn't skinny. She was like curvy, and like, you know, she had some fat on her and stuff. Well, I think, you know, it's a good thing because it proves that society is, you know, just being really manipulative and is lying about, you know, skinny being beautiful, because obviously, you know, not everyone is supposed to be skinny. It also shows that around the time that Marilyn Monroe was around, people thought, you know, that that was beautiful. So it just goes to show that society will look at one body type and think that that's what everyone should look like, you know, that they'll kind of label one body type as pretty when that's not right. So yeah, I just think it honestly is just so awful that like the media has chosen a body type and now so many people think that that's what they're supposed to look like. But you know, we have got to think really open-mindedly about it. Like I said, we weren't put on the planet to look like a certain body type. Like, that's just not the whole reason for the human race, you know. We're not supposed to look beautiful. And also, unless you work out and you have the best stomach muscles in the world, which for some people it isn't even possible, you know, you just naturally have weak stomach muscles. No one has a flat stomach, especially when you're eating and stuff. Like, I bloat so much and I'm like skinny and I don't really have much fat on me. You've got to work on body positivity and loving what your body looks like when you're eating enough for it, and that probably isn't gonna, I mean, it's definitely not gonna be as slim as your eating disorder wants you to look. It's never satisfied, it always wants you to look smaller. But when you recover, when you work on eating enough for your body, you will want to look after yourself. It's definitely what I found. Like, I used to recover just because I had to, but now I want to feed my body. Like, I want to look after it because I know how important that is. And yeah, with recovery will come body confidence, and you will learn to accept what your body looks like when it's healthy, not when it's slim with a flat stomach, you know, because if you're struggling to look like that, you're not supposed to look like that. Because fat is not a bad thing, it's just something that your body creates and it's something that your body needs. Sorry about the camera angles, they're gonna change literally a million times in this video, they probably already have. How did you decide to recover? I mean, how did you start? What was your first step? I get asked this a lot. There wasn't like, you know, a click moment. It was kind of just, I gradually had just gotten sick of not being in control. Like, I was fully aware that I had an eating disorder and it had taken over me and that I wasn't Emily anymore. I was like, you know, 10% Emily, 90% this horrible illness that like was ruining my life. So I think just gradually, especially this time last year, I just gotten sick of it, and there were lots of times where I tried to help myself, but I wasn't recovering properly, as in, you know, I didn't want to recover enough, or, you know, I wasn't giving it enough chance. And I think that happens with a lot of people. You do kind of have to have that moment that you think, no, yeah, I'm sick of this. And I guess, so, you know, obviously I built up to being sick of my eating disorder, but then I guess I kind of did have a moment then, maybe, that, you know, it's when I went to the, my hospital appointment, and they diagnosed me, and they said, like, if you don't, you know, start eating following this meal plan, you're going to be in hospital in a week. And I think that really kind of, you know, I'd already gotten sick of the eating disorder by that point, and then hearing that just kind of made me realise that I really wasn't looking after my body, and the fact that they told me that I was at risk of having a cardiac arrest, well, going into cardiac arrest at any moment, that kind of like really shocked me and made me realise how much the eating disorder had kind of took over me. So I guess that was my moment, because I've been in recovery ever since then, and I don't plan on ever not being in recovery. And yeah, my first step was following my meal plan, and you know, I went food shopping, and it was really exciting because, you know, I decided, like, because like I said, I like food, there was still like an Emily inside me that was like, you know, I want to get rid of this, I want to be able to eat normally, everyone can eat normally around me, so why can't I? So I wasn't, you know, completely taken over by anorexia, and I don't think anyone ever is. You're still inside you, you know, and you're aware of what's going on. You just kind of want the eating disorder gone. So yeah, that was basically how I decided to recover. What's one thing you love to do for the holidays? And I love your channel. Oh, thank you. Apart from Christmas time, because I feel like that's cheating, I can't really say going to my nan's or anything, because that is like what my Christmas day is. Just in the general holidays, it's probably just like when I chill in my bed, in my Christmas bed and in my Christmas pyjamas, drinking like a not hot chocolate, I don't even like hot chocolate, drinking like a cappuccino from my Santa mug, like wearing Christmassy makeup, or, you know, dressing up in Christmassy clothes, like I've got my little jumper on now, just little things like this, all of the tiny little things that make me excited for Christmas. Oh, that was the last question. I thought I had another one, but I'd actually just screenshotted the same question twice. Cool. I hope when I edit this it doesn't end up like a massive ramble, because I've literally been rambling for like an hour. I do hope that this video helped. Like, I hope that I know everyone's situation is different. I hope that what I've learnt has helped you. Yeah, hopefully it just makes things a bit easier during Christmas time, but honestly just try not to worry about it. Christmas isn't as scary as I think people make it out to be. And yeah, don't let your eating disorder ruin this time of year, because it's a really nice time of year. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more of these kind of videos, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, like this video if you did enjoy it, and comment down below if you've got any video requests, because I've got a few ideas, but I always struggle with, you know, I mean, A, you know, what ideas to film, and B, what you guys want to see. And I will see you in my next video, which will be a what I ate today. Bye!